And we've chosen two today that are quite linked. And it's to demonstrate coaching in the mentoring arrangement and to demonstrate facilitating in the mentoring arrangement. Now, a lot of times people go, okay, coaching, facilitating, mentoring, so what? Right? So long as we got our point across, we have a conversation, everything is great. Well, not quite. I believe that if you know what coaching is about, what facilitating about, what mentoring is about, and how the three of them weave themselves together, it makes for a much better arrangement, a much better conversation with the mentee. And so that's why we're going to, using another word of ours in IMC, is we're going to unpack these two action outcomes for you. We're going to start with coaching. I'm going to share a little bit about that. And then Doug has probably a few things to share, might even have a story to go with it. And then what we'll do is we'll look at facilitating. Again, then Doug will share something from his perspective. And then what we're going to do is attempt to bring those two terms and mentoring together, that weaving together that I hinted at about a minute or so ago. So let's get started and jump into coaching. Now, coaching is what I'll call a process to guide person to manage their accountabilities. A person has accountabilities, responsibilities, and sometimes they get a little stuck in there and they don't quite know what to do. So what they might do for themselves or be assigned is to get a coach to move them along. Now, we have life coaches, we have business coaches, we have process coaches, we have coaches of all kinds that can bring their insights to that person and move them along. So they have the tools and techniques that can guide the person to help the person so that they can self-manage what it is that they have to do. It's not that the coach is going to do it for you. It's that the coach is going to use some tools and techniques so you can self-manage to get those accountabilities and responsibilities taken care of. And you're doing it in such a way as to look for efficiencies and effectiveness and to make sure that it's relevant what you're doing. So they're holding a different kind of space around and with you because they are guiding you to do what it is that you need to do. That's what a coach is going to help you out with. So in a sense, what they're doing is they're going to urge you to fulfill the instructions that have been given to you, or that accountabilities have been given to you, the responsibilities you need to do. So it has a flavor of really leaning into practices, what needs to get done, what you need to do, rather than the concepts, what you need to know, and a lot of maybe the whys that go with it. Because the why will come a little bit later. The coach is attempting to get you to get that how and who taken part. How am I supposed to, who am I supposed to work with? And I can figure out the why afterwards. And the one last piece that I would offer, most times, coaching is really one-to-one. Most times. We hear of group coaching. I understand that. It's not like these terms are absolute and they fall into one box, or no, let's not even go boxes. They don't fit into like guide rails that says this is what must happen. But it's usually a one-to-one. And there are various approaches. I've mentioned that already. So, Doug, you got anything to share around this notion of coaching?
The one thing that I always encourage people to make sure that, number one, they understand what is it that I want to get from this particular type of relationship or arrangement. Is it coaching, or is it mentoring, or is it, facilitative mentoring? What is it that what are the outcomes that I'm looking for? And then be very careful in your selection of who it is that you're going to work with, whether it's the coach, the mentor, or the facilitative mentor, or a combination perhaps of the three. But to make sure that you, number one, understand what you're hoping to get from that, and then you choose wisely as to which path you're going to go down. there's still lots of confusion out there about the differences between each of those particular approaches, for lack of a better choice of words. So there are differences, but there are also a lot of similarities. And for me, what I typically tell organizations is that if you have coaching and mentoring, that's the best possible situation that if you have both operating in your organization, that's the desired state that we hope to get to. Because if one is kind of struggling in its approach to move an employee along, the other one will certainly be able to step in and help to be able to maybe gain that desired outcome that we're looking for.
For sure, for sure. Okay, well then let's take a look at facilitating here. Facilitating is the process about drawing ideas from the persons that are there. Usually it's like a group. Again, I will share is that it can be a person drawing ideas, insights, suggestions about something. So it's the drawing from that group. And again, there's many tools and techniques that are available to you to do this facilitative work and to engage in the discussion and dialogue that you are looking for within that group. So when you go to facilitate, it's not just about drawing ideas and people just answering, writing it up on the board. It's also having some discussion and dialogue in response to some of the questions that are in there. Now, the facilitator could ask those, or even the group members will start to ask some of the questions. And it's really about attempting to get some insights from the group that's going to help with the decision making for the group itself, or it may be insights for how the group is going to go and work with other groups or work with customers, whatever it might be, working in the community. So there is that element that goes with it. And I would like to think when a facilitator is doing a great job, then it's easier and better for the conversation. We talk about collaborative conversations. So there are collaborative conversations even with the facilitating, because really what the facilitator is attempting to do is get the concepts out so that you can then get at the practices afterwards. And that's important because you want to understand the who and the why before you get to the how when you're facilitating. Because if you're facilitating, just give me techniques, that's the concept part of it. But a lot of people will go, oh, then I'll go grab that one and I'll go do that. No, what it is to bring those together and then group decide what might be the best approach to go with that. So again, I just suggest that facilitating usually is one-to-many. It's one to a group. I've been known to facilitate a person and be able to say, okay, what's some ideas about how you want to live your life, how you want to grow your business, how you want to manage the people that you're working with. So I will use facilitating as well. So Doug, thoughts?
One of the ideas that comes to mind is every 2 weeks I host what we call a mentoring circle, and the approach that I use is I facilitate the dialogue that's going to take place. So I will go armed with a number of questions that I use as a means to start to promote the dialogue to help nurture it along. One of the things, though, that I wanted to, as you were explaining some of the potential outcomes, was what I've experienced with some of the people that attend is that they sometimes don't totally engage in the conversation, but what they're doing is there's a personal takeaway that they get from the dialogue that they take back to the workplace and they can put it into practice. One of the examples is I know that one of the attendees knew that she was going to have a difficult conversation with her supervisor around behavior and stuff like that. And what she ended up leaving the mentoring circle with was a number of tools that she could use to help have that conversation so that it didn't become a crucial conversation and one obviously filled with conflict. So excuse me, there are a number of, certainly a number of different outcomes that can come from that. Our group is such that People will bring challenges, opportunities, and that to the table that we can go through as a group. And my job, excuse me, in that particular case is to just continue to ask the right questions to help guide them where they need to go. But that's, from a facilitative mentoring approach using facilitation skill sets, that's worked absolutely phenomenal for me with the mentoring circle.
For sure. And then we're looking at actually, we're in April now, May, possibly by the end of May, we're going to have a program available about how to run a mentoring circle that you can then take up using facilitative mentoring and coaching as well. So that will be coming, one of our announcements in May. So we'll look forward to that part. I guess where we'll go now is that the weaving of these together. So if coaching is to give you guidance so that you fulfill the accountability that's assigned to you. In other words, we're going to urge you to self-manage yourself to get things done. Facilitating is to draw ideas out of you so that you can make some decisions. Mentoring is very much about the mentee asking questions of the mentor to tap into their lived experience. So while there's questions in all of them, it's who's saying what to who for what reason. That's the weaving part. And knowing which one you're in at the time and being able to declare it is like wearing the correct hat to the correct event. Because we know if you wear an incorrect hat to an incorrect event, people are going, that hat doesn't fit in here. So one of the things is to get the correctness and then to be able to draw from, question from, listen from the technique that would be called coaching, facilitating, and mentoring. That's what we're attempting to do, because those three are present in the Certificate of Competence for Mentor.